Oh, hi everyone to the Wrestler Review Patreon edition. I just want to let you know we are launching a new prank show. It's called You Just Got Straighted, and it's where a straight white man just goes to a impoverished neighborhood or to a country that was victimized by colonialism and just goes, "You just got straighted, bro."
I
Oh,
was
my
figuring it would just be
my
like you
water.
go into someone's like maybe a woman that lives alone, maybe a
Yep.
same-sex couple, and then you just you just drop a box of just cords in their house and see how they deal with that.
That's a
You know how like every
that's
straight guys, it's just like, where are all these cords? Is this a bunch of chargers for flip phones? What if they come back?
yeah. What if I need him? What if I need to charge a flip phone? What if I need him?
Do you really need 3 dresses in summertime? I think you could get rid of some of these. I need that box of cords. They're all tangled into one cord.
Let me fucking tell you some truth. I got a photo of a fucking babe's tits on one of these phones. I don't know which one, but one day I'm going to want to jack off to that, and I'm
Yeah.
going to charge that phone, and I'm going to jack off to it.
That's cool. Hey, do you have any tips on how to get the tits off this flip phone into my iPhone? That's what I always do at kiosks in the mall. And then they go, "What?" And I go, "Sorry, next kiosk then." I guess friggin' State Farm Insurance can help me with this.
I will never forget the day when someone said to someone that we both know, "Why do you have a photo vault on your phone? Just like what photos do you have that you're worried about someone like stealing off of your phone? Just keep them in like a hidden folder in your photos." And that person was like, "Well, I really don't want these photos to get out." And they were like, "What, they're nudes? Like everyone's got nudes just hidden in their regular photos." And he's like, "No." And I don't know what those photos are, but the look in that person's
Crime
eyes,
scene.
or like just like, there's a passed out. There was a passed out woman in that photo. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There is nothing more terrifying than the questioning of a man over the photos in his phone. Because either it's going to be weird, or you were about to have someone just show you a naked person without even asking.
Yes, this is the thing about like if you've sent a nude and you're a lady. I mean, I haven't done it, but I'd
Women have
say
also done it.
75% men would just show their friends without being like, "Hey, do you want to see? Hey, I really love this girl. Do you want to see your tits?" And I'm always like, "But what if you like marry this girl? Now I gotta be like, hey, your husband once just like showed me your boobs when I was like trying to talk about the Orlando Magic. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't like, "Can I see your boobs?" Which would have been like, "Oh, your friend's creepy." It's like, no, your husband's like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. I've never asked to see, but it's been shown. I have also, by the way, and that
This is
I'm
why I
not
think there needs
not
to be
in.
some sort of simulation for hunting.
It's also, but it goes both ways. Boys and girls have showed me partners bits. By the way, one of them, the most unsolicited, was a gal. I sat down with a bunch of people for drinks, and she just went, "Guess what I did this afternoon?" And then just showed me a cock pic, and it was. I'm going to say
Yours?
this: it was not. It was the least nice cock pic I've ever seen. There was like shadowy. It was shadowy and weird, and also
Emo.
not the prettiest penis. You know what I mean? I've sent a cock pic or two, and you know what you do? You get some lighting. You make it look good. Make it look good.
Mine's always dipping in the toilet. I've never sent a
That
pic.
is
I've
true.
always sent a video. Like, look
I
at
have,
that.
and as a recipient
Dipping
of
in
a
the
Dylan
water.
got cock pic, it was completely submerged in a toilet, and it was taken by someone else. Like he was.
Want to see this dump I took? Oh wait, sorry, my dick's in the toilet.
Oh
That's what
no,
I always do.
you're both disgusted and turn on. Welcome to the Got Zone, and then you just play Welcome to the Danger Zone, but stand there and go Highway to the Got Zone.
Got.
Zone. Dylan, what a week we've had in wrestling. What a week.
What a week.
Wrestling.
All right. As I was discussing in a plate thing we edited off because I started recording with what was just your forehead at the time, I think Vince McMahon's gotten away with it. And I think that it's all done. And he's Vince McMahon. Here's the thing. If he actually loses his place in WWE, that microphone flip and him coming out on every single website's like, why is he doing this? It's like, because he's directly antagonistic and a piece of shit. Like, there's no strategy. He's coming out like literally he's gonna come out and like be like, "Hey, welcome to SmackDown. I just ate an egg salad sandwich. Didn't like it. Flip the microphone. Run away."
You are I agree with everything you're saying except for the egg salad sandwich. If he loses control of that company, he's walking out naked on Monday Night Raw. I use this to fuck that paralegal. Like we guess
No, I don't mean that he's going to lose. Like, I don't mean afterwards. I mean like these all of these. I'm showing up on Raw. I'm showing up on SmackDown, and just saying a thing as Vince McMahon are all just straight up directly antagonistic.
Yeah,
like come get me, bitch.
I couldn't agree with you more. That it's clearly him just being like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do, Stephanie?"
But it's like.
But what
I
I'm
don't think
saying
it's Stephanie.
is,
I think it's like.
I
Stephanie's
think
like,
it's
oh,
Stephanie.
God.
I genuinely
think so?
this is what I think happened.
Well, because Triple H is back in. Well, this is. I mean, Big Daddy Dave, and I don't really trust what Big Daddy Dave says, but like apparently, Triple H went down NXT and was like, "Hey, I'm happy to start working with you guys again. I'm back from my siesta."
Yeah. So here's what
Which
I think
is so
is.
funny when
Here's what I
people,
think
like,
happened. Here's
go
what I
for it.
think happened. Are you ready for what happened? Which was
I'm ready for everything, John. Face, butt, dick, whatever.
okay. How about you put your face? Not. I don't want you to suck my dick, but I want you to put your face on the side of the shaft. Like I want you to take it while it's flaccid, and I want you to hold it. I just want you to go.
Oh God, have you? Now
"Oh."
you've ruined a real nice memory I had. Continue.
What was the nice memory of?
It's just sexual memory, and now it's like when I bought our friend Tim Renko penis straws because he was like, I need straws.
It's
and
very
they need to
good.
Be solid. So
That's
I was
very-
like,
I
"Here's a bunch of
remember-
fucking dick straws, buddy." And then he, in the best revenge, because he has cerebral palsy, started like trying to find it with his tongue and like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then just going down and sucking it. And then I was like, well, I only had positive memories of that happening to me, and now those are all like just incinerated, like maybe 12 memories I liked. Just was like, it's like it was honestly like it's not the same as, but it did remind me of like just throwing family photos in a fire, and then someone's like, again, I mean, yeah, those are useless to me now. I don't know how that would happen or something.
This organically came up. So Tim Renko, now entering his third series of having a television show on the air in Britain, still does not pay for public transport. Just walks up in his walker and just stares at the person until they open the gates. And
he literally will show up and go, "I'm retarded," and then they get so
uncomfortable
that he just fucking goes on.
I've never
legit it. He was
I've
too
never
cheap to buy a wheelchair.
I have
Just
never
use the walker.
I have never seen him full say that, but I have seen him just stare at them. And let me tell you what I almost did, but I nearly choked on my own tongue from the awkwardness, is I almost then said something. I went like, because I passed through and then they're waiting and I like, this guy's fucked with me for so many times. So as
But
they're
you
walking
get in for
over.
free too because they think you're his carer. Even though
No.
they'll think you're his carer, even if you're like me and him were screaming at each other about like something stupid, some
of course.
stupid Marvel movie, something, and then they were like, that must be his carer still. Like they just don't pay. They just
Yeah,
see
it's oh my
a
god.
man struggling to live, and another person like that's his carer who's carrying none of his bags and is just like on his phone.
Being friends with that man gives you a new insight into what it's like to be disabled in this society, and everyone just thinks you're a bootlicking moron, no matter like the amount of
he'll be like, "Can I have a burger and fries?" And they'll look at you like, "Can you translate it?" And I'm like, he couldn't have said that more clearly.
Yeah, like you're about to learn that actually I, as someone with dyspraxia, am much more of the X factor when it comes to talking. I don't look like I'm making you uncomfortable. So you've been tricked, my friends.
You've been cooked.
Um,
That's our new show where it turns out that I don't know. I'm married to that pillow that you fucked. So you cucked me.
I made love to that pillow. What I was trying to say is in that moment when Tim was trying to get the guy to open the gate, I tried to stop it as a fun prank to Tim because I knew he could just pay the £2 to get through. And
why would you do that?
Because I thought it would be funny to mess with Tim. But what I realized as I went, hey man, is this guy didn't clock that I was his carer? I just realized that guy just thought I was a stranger about to stop him from helping another disabled person I did not know. And I have never wanted to die more. The look that guy shot me as it like opened, and then Tim, because Tim's a master, did not acknowledge me until he was down at the bottom of the escalator. So I just had to live 30 seconds that felt like 10 years, which is why I would never handle a situation like Vince McMahon is handling a situation where he is.
No, we need to say this one because it's the ultimate Renko story.
Oh, the one
I
when
think
you
we
were on
for-
the bus?
No, Johnny Pelham.
Was it Johnny Pelham? I always thought it was you.
No, it was Johnny Pelham in an elevator. Johnny Pelham, another he won awards, right?
Yeah,
Very,
he's
very
one.
good. Here's how British Johnny Pelham is. We were good friends for years. I found out that he was molested because he did a joke about it. That's how
Yeah.
British Johnny Pelham is. So just so here's him and Tim Renko are on an elevator, and and this lady really condescendingly goes, "Are you having a good day?" Like she's nice, but are you having a good day to Tim? And then looks up at Johnny because she thinks Johnny's his care and goes, "Is he having a good day?" And then Tim said, "He rapes me."
Uh, Also, you do know that he did this to more than one person because I know
No,
a
that was
version.
his go-to. He tried to do it to
Yes.
me in an STD clinic, and I said, "They're just going to arrest me. You can't be like, I'm getting an STD check because this guy raped me." John's stream broke because of how fucking YOLO that fucking joke was. Anyway, yeah, and then I guess the ultimate payback would be if Vince McMahon had to be friends with Tim Renko.
That's true. I would also like to just quickly sorry, for some reason it kicked me off. Another version of that story happened with comedian Mike Shear. They were on a bus.
Mm-hmm.
Someone turned to Mike and went, "It's so nice you're taking care of him." And then Tim yelled very loud, "He fucks me!" And
Mm-hmm.
the woman just got off at what was clearly not her
Oh,
stop.
it's British, dude. British
the
people are
best.
crazy. They one time I was on a bus where a dude took a swing at the driver, and instead of anyone doing anything, everyone just left the bus in unison on that stop. No one was like, and then the
Oh, yeah.
driver just pressed a button, and then it was like, you're on your own. Like it's like,
Well,
it wasn't
yeah.
big.
Yeah, it's
I
the
fucked
best.
him up. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do
Yeah.
shit.
No,
I went, oh shit, and then everyone else looked at me like I was like in on it. I'm like, what? You can't react to silly things happening? What is this?
Yes.
World Star. That was.
I got shushed one time because I couldn't stop laughing because I saw a girl at Stockwell Station in the bridge between the Northern Line and the Victoria Line. So I'm just stood there coming back from the Banana
They censored you?
Cabaret. They did not censor me. It's even better.
Banana Cabaret, by the way, not a male strip club. Does sound like it though. Continue.
Yeah. Banana.
Fucking bananas.
Brrr. Anyways, I just heard, "Do it, Karen. Do it." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I look around and there's just this one, "I don't want to, Richard." And then do it. And then she just pissed
Nice.
everywhere, but she did not take off of her stockings. So she just pissed through stockings in a tube station. And
That
I
is the
started
craziest thing about England.
laughing so fucking hard. And a woman who had seen all of the same things I just had just looked at me and then went, "Shh." And I was like, a human just pissed. I can express that in a like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Also, she's so drunk she didn't hear me laugh at her pissing, and the fact she just pissed herself in front of her boyfriend. They just got on the Northern Line, which congratulations to you and me. We're not on with someone for the first time I know pissed themselves on public transport. So how about you take your shushes and then take a long cold drink out of my balls? Go ahead, Dylan. Let's talk quickly and quietly.
I have more. No, we're getting no. This is the people pay for this, so this is.
Yeah, so not talking about
whatever the
wrestling.
fuck
We want. Yeah.
No, I have one more, and then we can talk about wrestling if you want. Anyway,
I do not.
British people will wait 2 years to tell you they have a brother, but British women will piss outside the first time you meet them.
So
Like,
here's
it's,
what
like,
it is.
Crazy, and also. What do you call that? I want to say addendum, but he already said so. A epilogue to that is one time I saw a girl peeing because I was on the second deck of a bus and her friends were blocking it off, and then her friends and her looked up and saw everyone on the top deck of the bus because they forgot. Oh yeah, there's 2 decks to these buses. I'm blocking the first wave, but the second wave of archers can totally see us peeing.
Yeah, then what happened? Oh, I mean, Britain's insane. I got yelled at
Also
for
have to
calling.
pay to get in a bathroom, so like that's why they piss outside. Because for some reason, my wife started living there, and she was like, "That's a basic human right. There's no way they make you pay." I'm like, "They make you pay." Like I don't know what you know about monarchies, but they're fucked. Like technically, the queen could just take all the shit we have right now.
She can come get it. Right here. point at my
Oh, bro,
dick.
I'd get sucked off by
I
the
mean,
fucking shitty fucking queen.
yeah, you have. Everyone knows that.
Yeah,
That's
she's
you.
gagging because she can't process food anymore.
That's the noise Dylan's making while the queen is blowing her by the. I will just say this. I remember recently I was in the UK. I was having a bit of a rough day. A friend of mine almost died that day. Luckily, he later died months later. But that
Avoided.
day,
Tag watch later. That's pretty much happened. Continue.
that's right. He anyway, it was in November, and I in the stress of it all, because I don't know if you've ever heard news that a doctor say the words, "Well, if this doesn't go well, he's dead." But that was the phrase that was conveyed to me. So I walked from Archway all the way down to Euston, and on my way, I came across a man with a knife trying to stab a black woman in the street in Camden. Let me ask you this, Dylan: was anyone stopping?
No, of course not.
No, like, and I'm talking like wild swings. I get on the phone and I go, "Hey, there's a guy with a knife trying to attack a woman in Camden." And the guy was like, "Well, where in Camden?" And I was like, "All right." And I gave him the cross section. And he's like, "What side of the street?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, man. I can't send the police until I can see it on a camera." And I'm like, "You can't?" And then he went, "Hey, can you tell those people to be quiet?" And I was like, "That's the person with a knife screaming." And he's like, "Oh, come on, man." And then he's like, "I got on the camera. All right, I guess they'll be there in a bit." And I was like, "Do you want me to wait?" And he's like, "Why do you need to wait? I got your number." And I was like, "All right." And then I saw the police pull up. They pulled up 2 blocks down at a wrong corner, looked around a bunch. I then waved them. I then like ran, met them halfway, was like, "It's those people over there." And they were like, "All right." Like, I go, "We'll go talk." I was
No
like,
one really wants to work, is what you're getting. At.
yeah, I agree with them. And speaking of not wanting to work, wrestling is a real place where no one's working right now. Dylan, would you like to talk about how Forbidden Door seems stupid, or would you like to talk about all the injuries, or would you like to talk more about Vince McMahon, or do we want to talk more about how Britain is stupid?
I think that we should talk about Vince McMahon, but also I think we don't need to touch on I think it's weird. I think the whole Forbidden Door thing is weird, and I think
That's why I want to talk.
the
talk
wheels
about
are
it
kind of coming off AEW
in that.
because this dude's like Tony Khan's just taken on too much.
Well, what's
Seems
crazy is they need to just bring in a production staff, and they need to actually like. It sounds crazy, but they need to listen a bit to Jim Cornette and widen the tent, because
Yeah.
this is not helping.
They started out that way. That's why Orange Cassidy and Jungle Boy and Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara got over in the first place, is because they were like, okay, well, Sammy Guevara was just some dude from PWG. LAX obviously were on Impact. Chris Jericho obviously he's from. Jack Swagger had never been, aligned with any of those people before, and they're like, this is AEW. We mashed these people together. They made a great stable. And now it's like they have so many people, they're kind of like just doing things that are like, oh, it's all canon, I guess. And it's a very bizarre thing. I will say this. I was watching AEW yesterday.
Congratulations.
And just had a moment where I was like, it is super cool this is happening. Like, if this stopped tomorrow, we'd all look back and be like, this is the best wrestling like we've seen for the last 20 years, undoubtedly. So we are very nitpicky, but it's like it is very good. And because it is very good, WWE is now having to bring up their level, where a guy like Cody Rhodes comes in and they have to completely import his character from the other league and basically push him, like actually push him, where he's beating their actual stars.
I completely agree on that case. I think what's interesting is that if AEW is not careful, they're going to lose this moment, because the in-ring quality is it's incredible. The work rate is really, really good. They need to essentially do what the WWE did in that McMahon Helmsley era of the Attitude Era. Sorry for saying era so many times. Is they need to bring in 2 guys that literally just make timelines and organize everything of. Yeah. This is what are we paying off
to?
Which was
kind of the promise of AEW, was that everything was gonna have through lines. Now I haven't been.
Sorry,
go for it.
But they did have, and they had
one example.
Yes, I want you to.
Okay.
Because I was
the quick example I was going to give is that online Bret Hart and CM Punk. CM Punk and the FTR were talking about how great Bret Hart is, and then they became this unofficial "We Love Bret Hart" babyface stable. But the
Mhm.
last time we saw them interact, FTR was like holding CM Punk down so MJF could like what did he do? He like fucking stab. He did something fucking crazy.
Yeah, I
And it's
completely
like,
agree.
okay, but now we're friends, and they never wrote that off. They were never like, CM Punk was never like, I don't fucking trust these pieces of shit. The last time they beat the shit out of me, he was just like, oh, bygones, like, which is classic pro wrestling, but kind of the promise of AEW was
And
like,
I,
no, this is like one Marvel movie. We're always gonna honor our, character allegiances. CM
and
Punk never did that.
why they just need that detail is that would make for more interesting standout storyline. Is CM Punk's like, I want to like you guys, but I don't trust you. You need to prove your trust. Like that's
Soap
what
opera, man.
it's soap opera, and also it's that weird appeal that Ring of Honor was weirdly good at that. If you look back at early Ring of Honor, of really simple wrestling based storytelling,
Well, Ring of Honor
week
was
to
written by
week,
one nerd, and Tony Khan is
completely.
one nerd with 9 different jobs. John cut himself off again. Good. This is what I want. I want to fucking talk, bro. I'm in the fucking button up. I've opened it up so everyone can see the gains.
But let me just say
John's
that
back.
I am back. Is I know Ring of Honor was one nerd and AEW was one nerd, but Ring of Honor was like 13 wrestlers in a fucking galvanized shit.
Thing.
Also a cornet thing. But
Have
what
20 wrestlers, everyone else moves in and out.
I think but that's also not the worst idea. What I think they need to do is bring in 3 guys that don't even need to interact with the wrestlers. Tony Khan can script it all, but they literally are doing exactly what you did I know you want to roll with that, but just bear in mind 8 months ago, this is what happened. So we just need to resolve that before we do your thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like flashbacks, like while the angle's happening, small screen it, and then show what happened or what they're talking about.
See, this is exactly it, because it's also
there's 18,000 people in the arena, and this is something WWE understands. Where it's like, if last time I went to a Raw, it was boring as fuck, but it's like they understand that it's like, yeah, there's 18,000 people here, but these are our super fans. Clearly, this is a TV show for the 3 million at home.
Now that said, though, that got WWE in a lot of trouble because essentially their live events and their TV tapings continually dwindled in attendance because they were not somewhat catering to that live audience, while AEW is very much still catering to them. And again, what I'm just saying is that, listen, I am not nearly as the most intense follower of all elite wrestling as everyone else is. It just strikes me on a near constant basis that it's like they could be so much further along and it could be even more engaging, because they basically just need, this sounds crazy, but it's like they need 2 writers. They need 2 to 4 production people that are literally just in charge of keeping track of what they're doing. Why has Big Money Matt transitioned so quickly into just being part of the hard? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it just would add on some weeks to the storytelling. And also it would give everyone more of an opportunity of, you can pay off some stuff on Dark. You can pay off some, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that thing of use all of your properties and also do the thing. The key to the Attitude Era being so successful, and it's never been done properly, is just give everyone a storyline that you can explain in a sentence. Like, they have all these factions, which I actually really like, and as a great NWA move, have a few of them in lower mid card fucking fights. Like, also
have consistency, really.
Also, yeah, that's the main thing. Like this program, we are consistently very bad at it. That's why you tune in.
But this is
they've been doing their show for 7 years, and John has dropped connection twice. It's like they're actively punishing us. We're punishing
you. This show is
you.
like I don't know. If other podcasts are chefs, we're a stir fry, buddy. We come home from work. Here you go. Here's some fucking bell peppers. I found this leftovers. Yeah, sure. Sushi and pineapples. Let's go. Oh, that's gross. Whatever.
Welcome to the fact that soy sauce always tastes good.
There you go. Why don't we salt it? Why don't we salted dirt? Let's go.
Also, did you see Joey Janela came out and has been doing a bunch of let me tell you the real reason why I'm not with AEW.
Nice.
And it's very funny because it's all just like, he's like, they were going to get this person and they were going to help me. And it's like, you can just be like,
I had a gun, then I fucking buffed up a bit, they still didn't want me. Those are the reasons.
Yeah, it was just that thing of I'm just a bit too indie, but maybe I'll just be back in a couple of years. Like that's the other thing with a bunch of these guys where it's like I kept being like, man, they must have been wrestling for like 20 years and they now have an opportunity. It's like they've been a wrestler for 4 years. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm not sad you're not in the big time. Like go
Yeah, of
you'll
course.
learn you'll have another shot, buddy. Like
Also, Joey Janela is a weird one where it's like he had all that great press because Game Changer Wrestling had the show. Basically, they were like, "Oh, this character is a great way to have like a silly, fun show where everyone's hammered and like make it a party." And it was a great show, WrestleMania weekend. One of the like, it was like the only show. It's like started at midnight, went to like 4 a.m. type thing, where it's like you're a wrestling fan. That doesn't mean you don't have access to hard drugs. Let's go, which is like a great shout on their part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, are you in wrestling? You may just be like some single dude with a bunch of expendable income now, which is like where I was at one point. And it's like I would have gone to Joey Janela's fucking shit anyway. But then it's
let me say
kinda
this. Can I say this about Game Changer Wrestling? I have never seen an organization that I know more is going to end with the owner dead in a hotel room. Like there's no way that guy who looks like an 11-year-old who appears in the Nick Gage Dark Side of the Ring, there is no way that guy doesn't just like end up covered in cocaine. Well, he did so much ketamine, he actually turned into a gerbil.
He's an interesting dude though, because it's like it's so smart to have like, hey, instead of having, we're not trying to start the WWE at all. What we have is like a bunch of shows that are completely different from one another. Like Joey Janela's House Party, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which I still think Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is like, I don't know how they've avoided that copyright, and B, it's the fucking best. It's the fucking, I love that idea.
I don't even know what it is. Is it literally
they just do Bloodsport. It's pro wrestlers doing Bloodsport. You wrestle. There's no ropes. It's a fight to a finish.
fantastic?
It's amazing.
And then I assume Matt Cardona is just showing up every once in a while and being so ripped for an indie wrestler. Like, here's what no one talks about: is just the fact that Zack Ryder just kept it
professional.
He kept it tight, and now he just shows up on indie shows and looks like goddamn Superman.
Who is oh my god, who does he remind me of? It's kind of like he's better. Now follow me on this, please. He's kind of better Scotty Riggs in ECW.
Oh my god, that's
like
exactly what he is.
Scotty
That's such a
Riggs
great point.
showed up in ECW, and you're like, well, this guy's he's clearly too like professional for this place, and basically came in, did that one great feud with Rob Van Dam, and then left. But like, he's just like, oh, this guy's like a professional wrestler. It's so weird, not professional, but this guy's a WWE guy, and that's character, and that's very much who he is. Like and it's dope, and he's turned himself from Zack Ryder, I make a silly noise, and then anyone can beat me, to like Matt Cardona, NWA champion, where it's like this is the only reason to watch the NWA now.
Yeah, and also what's so amazing about Matt Cardona is
Jericho, I guess, kind of stole his gimmick for the Jericho Appreciation Society, but.
Did he really?
Well, yeah, because Matt Cardona's whole thing is I'm an ex-WWE guy, WWE. So it's kind of like, in a way, I can see Jericho watching that and be like, oh, I'm going to be the sports entertainment guy against pro wrestling. Whereas Cardona doesn't explicitly say that. He just is it.
Yeah, I mean, it's no one should be shocked that Chris Jericho has stolen someone else's idea, seeing as
it's
like
also wrestling. Like,
yeah, it's also wrestling. It's also like the Inner Circle was just that Bret Michaels dating reality show, but it was just 4 wrestlers who get to vie to be Chris Jericho's best friend. Which one of you gets to find out which one of my fedoras I come in?
But like, if you think about, I've said this a million times in certain ways, but like, if you think about who Sting is they took the name from the lead singer of one of the world's most popular bands at that time, and then added David Bowie face paint. So Sting kind of is, if there was a guy next week whose name was Drake and he just looked exactly like, I don't know, Takeshi 6ix9ine.
Yeah, it'd be like, that's fine. Or like, no, it's even be bigger. It's like if he looked at, they made him look like Jason Momoa in Aquaman.
Yeah.
And it's Drake. No. Yeah.
His name's Drake. Why? I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like they used to do this shit all the time. The biggest wrestler in the history of professional wrestling is named Steve Austin, which is just the $6 million man. There's no
Hulk Hogan's gimmick was just he's the
He's the
Incredible
Incredible
Hulk, but
Hulk.
he's Irish. He's Irish Incredible Hulk.
He's fucking pissed off. There's too many of them moving into his neighborhood. He's gonna go wild, which
Yeah,
turned out to be who he really is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's, Vince McMahon Sr., as he always said, he's like, Vince McMahon Sr. is like, I only hire people that live the gimmick, which is why
Mhm.
Bruno Sammartino just goes to different ethnic neighborhoods and tries to beat people up. It is also.
He tries to beat people up, and then he puts a hockey stick with tomatoes on there.
Am I crazy that Bruno Sammartino is still alive? Is he still alive?
No, he's dead. He's been dead for years.
But like only a few years.
He lived far longer because Bruno Sammartino is just a naturally big man who worked out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's that. And also he had so much money in that time where it's like, if you had so much money in the 70s, like it was just like, he's like, yeah, he bought like 3 houses around Pittsburgh in the 70s. They all quadrupled in value. He had no stress in his life because his wife literally did everything because he was a traditional Italian man.
Mm-hmm.
His sons raised legitimate grievances with his personality. He refused to speak to them or talk to them or ever think of them again. Like his stress levels must have been zero.
I mean, other than just being an old Italian man. So he's been dead for 4 years now.
That's so crazy.
But he lived 1959 to 2000. No, sorry, that was his wife who he married when he was 24. 1935 to 2018.
Go on, Bruno.
That is 83. That's
Do you think that
a life that a man would live? Which, if you were going to actually win a world title for 6 years,
that's like he should have.
The trade is you can have a world title for 6 years, but you're going to die at 40
right after. Like also like the difference between Ric Flair and like Bruno Sammartino in terms of like the old school, like Bruno Sammartino was this reserved man in a turtleneck where you're just like, just don't ask him about politics. Oh, what I have to say about them is they're not people. Who was he talking about? Everyone except for Italian men. But while you look at Ric Flair, it's like, oh God, if you could have just died in 2006.
Yes. Some people, I don't know, man. Then he wouldn't have Ric Flair drip.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. This
people
last
are
match,
also like very reticent. There's a certain type of person they want to get out of the public view, and the fact that like, isn't it pretty much openly known that Charlie Sheen raped Corey Hart? Or
is that no? I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen raped another one of the like stars from that time, but everyone's like, Charlie Sheen loves to party.
I had no idea about this.
Haha. Things happen when you party. You know that t-shirt shit happens when you party naked. And sometimes you assault someone.
Yeah.
Like it's like, but there's just like, this is the thing about, and this is so funny because
it was speaking of Charlie Sheen, this is a point that always sticks in my head.
I'm gonna Google this and then my phone, and then
please
Google. It's gonna show up to my house.
Of course. The other thing that I always point out, and it was pointed out like when he came out and was like, I'm HIV positive. And then Brie Olson came forward and was like, he had sex with me a bunch of times and never told me he was HIV positive. And everyone was like, yeah, but like you do porn though. And she's like, yeah, where there's constant testing. Like, what are you talking about? And everyone's like, it's pretty cool. Charlie Sheen dated a porn star though. And she's like, you guys are not listening at all. And then it's like, that's cool. She's like, all right, I'm gonna go. Like, it's one of those moments where as a society, and I remember like people were discussing it like Charlie Sheen has AIDS, and then I remember bringing that up at one point and people were like, oh yeah, and then just like, all right, well, I guess we're just not thinking about it.
So the from Corey Haim. Oh, this is a movie called My Truth. Corey Feldman asserts that Sheen raped Haim during the filming of the 1986 movie Lucas, and at that point, Corey Haim was 13, Charlie Sheen was 19.
Holy shit!
So I was trying to cut you off before you were like, Charlie Sheen, who's a good actor. You got to admit that 2.5 Men a good show anyway, and then I tell you that, and you're like, so no.
2.5 minutes of being edited out of the Patreon. That's what I'll
tell you. If we edit something out of the Patreon, then it's truly fucked.
Oh yeah. Well, here's what I will say about all of that. I see it.
Just say all of it.
Charlie Sheen definitely did it. I don't need to see any evidence. I don't need.
So this is Corey. This is the thing, though. Corey Feldman saying that it was happened to Corey Haim, and this is, of course, the source here is My Truth, The Rape of Two Corys, which is a fucking quite the title there.
That's a real fucking title. Does anyone else remember the Two Corys reality show that was on A&E that they always kept making it seem like they lived in Hollywood, but it was clearly Vancouver?
No.
Yeah, like it was like one of them, you never saw them at home because clearly they just did not live in Vancouver.
I mean, you know what? The reality shows are a lot like wrestling. They're all lies. So anyway, let's talk about the
No.
other thing, which is Vince McMahon. You don't think he's gotten away with it. I think this is like. So here's the other thing.
Here's
and
why
this
I
is
don't think
not
he's gotten
from
away
us.
with it
Go for
is that the investigation hasn't happened yet, and it's also that thing of like the whole thing that no one's also talking about is Stephanie Stephanie, who truly has been the most loyal of anyone in the Vince McMahon inner circle, left. What I think it was she found out about this and was like, I am a woman, I am a daughter, I am a mother. I also found a bunch of notes that read, how do I ha 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 do that thing I've wanted to make into a pay-per-view storyline? Ha ha ha. So she's just like, nah, I'm out of here, bud.
It is very important for her brand as a executive.
That's the thing.
To be
is that
linked to,
she knows there is time after him. So you're never going to see them publicly linked. If he comes back, she's going to go again.
Oh,
And I think what it will be is you will see her. They're going to phase him out now, because as much as him, here's why.
Okay.
If they find anything in that investigation, they will have to, because if not, they could have an investor revolt, and they could remove the whole family.
I don't know. I don't know enough about that specific. Like,
I don't know a ton about it, but it's what I like. I did some cursory looking, but it's also one of those things where it's like, this is also the worst thing to happen right now when he's clearly trying to get the company ready for sale. That's more than likely how this was discovered. Was, there's all of this internal stuff that gets released as they're approaching a sale. This is probably how Stephanie saw it. Why was this person making 6 figures for 2 years, and then she left and just got a Steve Austin amount of money for t-shirts, and she sold nothing? And then Vince was like, she sold my cum to her mouth. And then Stephanie was just like, why would you say it that way, Dad? And he was like, locker room talk. We're in a locker room. And she's like, we are not in a locker room. We are in a boardroom. And he's just like,
holding my son. Locker room.
You don't have a son. You only have daughters. This is it's one of Shane's. I gotta throw it out the window.
I just think that like the news cycle would be the only thing that would make this really stick, and I think
mine's the opposite. It's like him going out on Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that. Like I think it's just he knows that he's screwed. Like he knows.
He had tried to be like squeaky clean, then yeah, but like he presented himself on television as such a scumbag that it's that whole thing where people, and we talked about this before, where people are gonna be like, oh yeah, people fucking.
I mean, what's interesting is Jim Cornette brought this up.
Ooh.
Which was, I worked with that guy every day for 2 years, and like, except for talking about Sable in white panties, I never saw him speak about that inappropriately. And he went,
what does Jim Cornette think is inappropriate then?
What he's saying is he thinks that Vince McMahon is just diminished capacity and has gone nuts, which is so funny that Jim Cornette cannot see that just a guy can just be one way with you, and then when you're not with him, he's just like, But I do think that may play into it a little bit, in that Vince McMahon is a smart enough businessman to know going out on Raw and SmackDown, and I agree with you, he's just doing it to antagonize people, but is a really bad idea because it's keeping it in the news cycle.
I don't think it is, because...
But it's not keeping it in the mainstream news cycle, but it's keeping it in the wrestling news cycle. Sorry to interrupt you, Dylan.
What I'm saying is, the only thing that'll make this stick is the thing that made the Benoit changes happen, which was it needs to be a story on CNN, and unless someone dies in professional wrestling, no one gives a shit. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of like, and this is not from us because I don't watch cable news, but like other wrestling podcasts have done the work, and it's like, oh, what are they called? WrestleNomics. Basically, some guy was one of their guests this past week was watching all of the footage of like how they're covering the Vince McMahon latest case, and literally everything they're showing on television is him coming out as Mr. McMahon. So they're basically showing like this cartoon did a cartoon thing, and literally Jake Tapper was like, yeah, who cares? Basically was like, who cares? And then they started talking about the war in Ukraine again. So it's like,
Yeah.
I guess I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for sure, talk about the
war in Ukraine, but it's also like
yeah, this is something where if there actually is a wrestling media that's accredited, then they can do a lot of work here to actually get this to be a real story. But I don't think anyone cares about.
Well, because I also assume Fightful.com is very busy just actually having camp in MJF's asshole. Like, that's the other thing that's crazy about the wrestling media is they're like, we should cover this giant sex scandal at the corporate level of the WWE. Holy shit, Wardlow just changed his entrance music. Get me the composer.
Well, they gotta do the whole thing, and B, like, I guarantee as far as clicks, which everything is 4 clicks now, unfortunately. The fucking first day of the Vince shit was crazy big, and then the rest of it is like, okay, well, you're just gonna have until they get to like, I guess, the discovery phase. I know a lot about being a lawyer. No one's gonna give a shit about this.
Being a lawyer. Now, Dylan, do you think that Vince McMahon will be deposed?
I think if Vince McMahon,
oh my God, imagine.
The greatest thing in the world.
Do you understand if in a deposition you can ask him any question?
They have to say no first. That's part of it.
Yeah. Mr. McMahon, can you give me your full name? Absolutely not. Like, if any of you, by the way, the podcast Knowledge Fight is an absolute guilty pleasure, and it's just 2 nerds. If you think the Wrestler Review is niche, it's 2 nerds listening to Alex Jones being like, no, that's not actually what happened. And they go through his depositions from the Sandy Hook trial, and it is the most argumentative thing I've ever listened to in my entire life. Like, it's literally like, so Mr. Jones, today is Wednesday. That is your assertion. Today is Wednesday. I do not look at calendars on days that are after Tuesday before Thursday. And they're like, oh, like the lawyer at one point rudely just eats a bunch of food. Like, it's so fucking nuts.
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
Can we how the whole trial while eating
does
a sub the same
does
sub.
anyone in the sounds of our voice, if you are a legal representative, I would like to talk to you about strategies in which we can get Vince McMahon to sit in a deposition against the Wrestler Review. I don't know how we would do it, but that would be the greatest episode of our lives. Mr. McMahon, this is a question from Mr. Gott. It is, would you rate your loads as fat ass?
We should totally buy
fat as fuck
WWE as part of this podcast.
Do we then get to ask questions? No.
I don't know. We'd have to buy an appreciable amount of stock to ask questions, which we'd never be able to do. But.
If we devote all of our Patreon money for this year to buying WWE stocks to slowly be able to Elon Musk take over the WWE and rename it Cum Federation.
I want to say this, though, about Forbidden Door, which we started talking about it.
I think that the fact that we literally started talking about it 40 minutes ago and then just talked about everything else we could possibly think of before getting back to Forbidden Door is really indicative of that. Also, it's very annoying in that it's literally a wrestling in-joke, and then Tony Khan's like, hey, we're going to do it. It's like, I don't care.
So I like Forbidden Door. I like that. But, like, for me, they have all these Clash of the Champions events. I don't understand why this isn't like a Saturday night Clash of the Champions, because
oh
I'm
my
looking
God,
at
that's
their
a great
pay-per-view
point.
schedule, because I am a father, so I have no dates or numbers in my mind anymore. But Double or Nothing, where Punk won the title, was less than a month ago, and then previous to that, of course, they were doing pay-per-views once every 3 months, which is dope, and quarterly and all their. I bought every single AEW pay-per-view because they start these storylines 3 months ahead of time and slow roll them and are very good at it.
It's
and
great.
This one's like, yeah, they're fucking showing they're all gonna fight. It just seems like weirdly like a WWE thing. They've held it off, obviously, to the pay-per-view, which is not a WWE thing. but like it does seem like a
But they
WWE
haven't
thing.
really, because like it's like
Yeah, they
Will
have
Ospreay,
Osprey on a
like,
couple
but
times.
and also Osprey should, like, as soon as they're like, and Osprey's gonna be in a match, I was gonna be like, why?
It'd be nothing
Also,
but like dream matches.
am
You're right.
I crazy that Will Ospreay got canceled in the speaking out movement? I didn't
He
Google
did
it.
not, because he only said don't book this chick because she thinks one of my friends fucking are Dizzle, which is fucking crazy. Also, yes, no one can
What?
truly get canceled and speaking out because he's too good at wrestling. This is what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
They only want, it's all a popularity contest unless and then like then you get into this whole nebulous thing where it's like who got canceled? Enzo did, and like Enzo released that fucking song. I'm not saying Enzo's a great man or even a good person or whatever.
And yet I'm looking at text messages, Dylan, and this was
Enzo
sent. This
is
was sent
good
earlier today. Let me just read it. I like Enzo. Later, I'm going to say
as a
I
man.
don't. I want you to bring that up and correct me. Those are your words.
All I'm saying is, like, and then you look at Darby Allin and the stuff against him, which I think is maybe is one girl alleging emotional abuse, and everyone's like, yeah, but the flips.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
But guys, his music's pretty brooding, and he comes out with Sting. And it's like,
I can't stress this enough. Sting's there too, guy.
yeah. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but like he's friends with. Hang on. Do you remember Hulk Hogan? Yeah. He's friends with Hulk Hogan. No, that guy who looked like the Crow who came out of the ceiling. Yeah. Okay. Turns out that guy used to do pills, and now he doesn't, and he kind of somehow looks the same, because if you just wear face paint the whole time, no one knows what you actually look like. So it's just like he's the same age, and we're still happy to see him.
This is the thing, though. Like, and I feel like this is pretty cold and capitalist of me right now. But like, I feel like if there's an allegation against someone in your company, there's enough talent out there right now to just fire them. Like, I don't. Who gives a fucking shit about Darby Allin? Who gives a fucking shit about Sammy Guevara? Like, these guys, as soon as something happens, it's like, get the fuck out. Like, there's so many people. Like,
But part of the reason why I think in the U.S. is that they could sue the shit out of Tony Khan for breach of contract.
Well, then put him on the sideline. Put him on the sideline until you just release him. What does it fucking matter? Especially when the AEW and your whole thing is like, we're not the WWE. They take Saudi blood money and all this shit. Like, they haven't out and out said that, but like,
It's a great point. It's a great point. But it's also that thing of
look at
here's
AEW
the other,
roster
and
now, like legit, like there's like 900 wrestlers. Like, what is
I
the
guarantee,
difference of
but I guarantee why.
bumping Darby
Here's
Allin?
why Sammy Guevara didn't go is because he's close with Jericho, and there's no way that Jericho is, I guarantee, gonna, like, I will bet all the money I possess, Chris Jericho right now is saying to a weeping child, cancel culture.
He's bringing up cancel culture.
Like, cancel culture. He's like, you want to know why you're being bullied? Because you don't believe in cancel culture. And you little fuck. Like, that's the thing with Chris, like the other thing that doesn't, like, no one talks about is like, yeah, like but like, wait, what did Sammy Guevara even do?
Sammy Guevara just said,
He just said some why, like he just said like
some bullshit on a fucking thing. Like,
podcast.
For us to litigate that is
that's why I was about to be like, let's take Sammy Guevara out there, because if you can get in trouble saying wild.
Sammy Guevara said when they were talking about Sasha Banks in some indie radio, on some wrestling radio show, and he's like, oh man, I'd fucking rape her or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is pretty buck wild, but like,
yeah,
I mean, once again, this is wrestling. Like, all of your, if
but
your
again,
talent have tweeted something weird, like the guy that you're gonna honor because you want to have a link to professional wrestling history has probably like an active pedophile.
This
you know
is the
what
other
I mean?
thing.
Like,
but this is
you're
the
gonna
other thing.
fire
Just
a
to your
guy for
point,
something
I just want to
he
say.
tweeted,
I just want to say something to your
Grizzly Smith's
point.
gonna get a fucking.
This is the thing. It's also that thing with Darby Allin is it's still a company. Like, if he's like, we've heard these accusations, you're gone, or we're just sidelining you. Like, Darby Allin can be like, you had no proof.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't legally allowed to do any of that. I now own AEW. Like, that's the other thing is it's
How?
like, because
they're all independent contractors.
I don't know the actual, but you're but I honestly
them.
don't know. I don't know. I assume that's why they wouldn't do it, or it's also
That's
why
like saying like, oh, hey, we're not going to play this guy because he was mean to the coach in the NBA, and the guy's like, well, prove that I was mean, otherwise you have to play me. Like they don't have to do it. It's a fucking you're an
I
employee.
guarantee, but I guarantee if you're someone who like, I don't care about Darby Allen. You
They
don't
can
care
also
about
just
Darby
invent
Allen.
something. They don't have to say like, oh, he said that this one allegation.
Again,
Just
I'm
say
I'm
like,
literally just speculating as to why they haven't done it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just going, is it something to
well, I
do
know
with their
why they haven't
contract?
done it because he's popular.
This is the other problem. It's exactly that. Is it's
Because
also
all
like
they have 900 high flyers, and they have only one guy who's like the
the
way he
goth
wrestles
high
is,
flyer.
but like the way he wrestles is it's kind of like when you see Rey Mysterio back in the day, where you're like, how is this little guy gonna? Oh, that makes sense. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Where like and versus Darby Allen, where it's like, oh, he because he's so small, he uses that to his advantage because he just runs as fast as his body will allow him towards the target, and the guy's big enough. Every single person in the company is big enough that if he runs as fast as he can and hits them full target, they'll fall over and it'll look good, but also they're not going to be that hurt.
yeah. No, and it's but what I again find it very interesting about the AEW culture is AEW needs to really watch out. Exactly what you're sort of detecting is that thing of they're like, we're different from the WWE. We don't do X, Y, Z. Uh, but it's very noticeable, especially as they're growing more and more, that they're making a lot of the WWE esque mistakes. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's that sort of thing of they, I think, need to right the boat a little bit. Ever since they took the belt off of Omega, I've been getting the sense from AEW that it's like they were like this big tight cluster in the pandemic. Like it was moving forward in a direction. There were obviously problems, but it was growing, growing, growing. The things people were saying about the program were getting more and more positive week in and week out. And now they're at this place where it's all separated and scattered, and they need an overarching vision to correct exactly the sort of hypocrisy things you're talking about, to also correct sort of every problem that they have could be solved by a little bit more management control and a literal touch of production, because it's also someone going, we have 900 people, we don't need this creepy emo fuck, it's only going to come back to bite us, see us in hell. Or let's conduct make sure to have conducted an active and important investigation on this, so that if so we know exactly what the situation is at, like, you know what I'm saying? It just seems like with everything to do with that company, and this is, it seems like a big problem in wrestling companies in general, is they'll get on a streak of chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 is really good. AEW's case, it's like chapter 4, 5, 6 are awesome, but chapters like 1, 2, and 3 were kind of like and now it's like we're at chapter 7 and it's like, you're doing this in this way, like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't
Because they
seem.
had a vision and they lost it because it's been 4 years now, and they lost one of their EVPs, and the vision that like they had, the four people had, whereas like Kenny Omega, the original idea behind AEW that everyone thought they were getting was, this is the wrestling vision of the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes, and it's not. It's Tony Khan's because Tony Khan has the money and the connection to the television.
And also that in the first year, when it was the vision of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and
It
Cody
sucked.
Rhodes, it sucked. No one enjoyed
Because
it.
Cody Rhodes was clearly writing his own stories. Like he's writing these like Michael Bay epics, and
Yeah.
then they're writing like, wouldn't this be fun
Wouldn't,
if it happened?
wouldn't it
All
be
our
cool?
bad guys are actually not scary type thing.
Yeah, like wouldn't it be cool if we just made a web series and made that contingent to understanding all storylines in the company? Yeah, I wouldn't do that because no one. Here's what no one has ever said: get me Nick and Matt Jackson. They are electric on screen when they're performing. Like I
This
really
is
enjoy the Young
unprecedented
Bucks as
for.
wrestlers. I really enjoy the Young Bucks as wrestlers. As personalities of a wrestling company, I would rather fuck a buzzsaw. Like
Really?
they are not engaging. They both think they're, it's a very unique to the West Coast style where it's like, here's what you don't know about me. I'm a bit of a live wire, and it's like, I'm 6'4" and you're both 5'1". I'll stab you both in the face. If you,
Stabbed.
like, it's one of those things where it's just like, they're like, you don't understand. Like, we don't take shit. We've sold out the Tokyo Dome, and it's like, yeah, I don't believe the world is flat, and I've had sex with more than 2 women. So how about understand where it begins is you guys are all both little fucking baby boy. Like they just come across like actual dumb fucking losers.
That being said, when AEW first started, They knew what they had to do. They lost a Private Party. And Kenny Omega wasn't the first champion. Like, it was like everyone who started this company understood that we are already the stars. We now need to make new stars. And I would really, really love to see a version of AEW where NXT just keeps on going, because I think that kind of ruined, like, it made the roster way better, but it's kind of like you're building a house with a certain budget, and then the budget just in the middle goes through the roof, but you've already built the foundation. So you're like, I guess on top of the house there'll be a gym for some reason. You're like, well, that
Yeah.
looks weird, and it's like, yeah, but like, I'm just going through the AEW roster, and it's like, if NXT in its current form doesn't, and this just cleans up the roster completely, because if NXT doesn't fold and just keeps on going, then it's like you don't have Undisputed Era. You don't have Adam Cole, you don't have Kyle O'Reilly, you don't have, and this is like, obviously everyone listening to this is
Stop.
like, they're good. I know they're good, but like, also, like, when's the last time, I'm literally looking at this list right now, but like, Brian Cage isn't on TV. Brian Cage is whatever, but like, Powerhouse Hobbs is like only on Dark, and basically if Powerhouse Hobbs isn't fighting another black person, then he's not on television. Lee Moriarty hasn't been on television in a million years. Since Cody Rhodes left, Arn Anderson, Brock Anderson, and Lee Johnson are just off of television. Lance Archer's been rewritten as part of New Japan. Well, they would, and I do still believe they would have gotten rid of Keith Lee and Andrade, so you'd probably still have those guys. It's like Samoa Joe wouldn't be here, which, I mean, I love Samoa Joe, but like, I'm just saying, like, there's all these spots taken up by these guys where it's like I'm looking at the AEW roster right now, and I'm just gonna go line by line here, but like, Anthony Gogo gone.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
Bowens and Caster, who are like probably two of the best characters they have, are in like a stable now because there's not enough TV time for them. Bryan Danielson doesn't touch the fucking microphone anymore. Your boy Colt Cabana is a ghost. Dante Martin's brother got injured.
Yeah, Brian
Dustin
Danielson's
Rhodes
an
is
interesting
gone.
one. Yeah, where the fuck's Dustin Rhodes? Where's Brian Danielson is the big one. Where the fuck is that guy? He joined the Blackpool
And then they just
Combat
shut him
Club.
up, which is like crazy. And it's like they took the best babyface promo they probably have in the company, like Malachi Black and Brody King and Buddy Matthews. Like, Malachi Black, if there's
I
someone
don't-
that screams I am a loner character more than Malachi Black in wrestling, like,
First of all,
Malachi Black versus Darby Allin, there's a feud. Then you can just like,
which I do not understand why they have not done, because it's the simplest thing. It's also, but who they did it with was they did it with fucking injured Sting. They did it with the Undisputed Era, which I was like, this is not, Darby Allin doesn't need to be in a feud with the Undisputed Era. He needs to be in a feud with Malachi Black, because also, who's Malachi Black in a storyline with?
they're against Death Triangle, which like is
Again,
another thing.
Another thing where it's like, I don't want to be rude to Pac, and to, I assume, isn't that where
Phoenix and Penta, and those three are also dope, but like, they're just like seemingly, oh, you guys were here too early, so we actually don't like you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it just
Yeah,
seems very weird to me.
it's also this weird other thing that I also think that's very interesting, and we've literally just been doing it, but we do not make our entire podcast about it. The other thing that's very interesting about AEW, and I know this is going to sound hypocritical to everyone, is that they also have become what every wrestling podcast talks about for 90 minutes. And then they'll move on to either discussing the Nitro that the fans have voted on Twitter for them to discuss, or I don't know what, like, Jim Cornette will go back to taking questions and being very angry at both Donald Trump and Muslim people. Like, it's also this weird thing of AEW has really profited from the need in wrestling for an alternative to WWE, but also this thing of the people that are in charge of the wrestling podcast, which is such a huge part of wrestling now, are all watching AEW because it's at least unique and different than the WWE. Do you know what I mean? So they, like, what Jim Cornette will never say is, oh, while he hates AEW, he's still watching it every week. He hated the WWE. He wasn't watching it. Like, oh, he says he doesn't watch it. Well, how does he know when everything is happening? Like,
Oh, he
I
watches
don't.
WWE, at least pay-per-views, I think.
He
Jim
only
Cornette
reviews the.
does.
I think he only reviews the matches occasionally. Like,
Jim
it doesn't.
Cornette does a Rogan amount of podcasting a week. For sure he's watching
It's
WWE.
so nuts now. That was all
He
just
doesn't
during.
ever think a thought that he hasn't said into a microphone.
Yeah, I like very recently, like within the last month, was on a long road trip and was just like hankering for some wrestling podcast. And I was like, oh, screw it. Let's see what he has to say. It was like 5 hours long. And the first hour and a half, him and his fucking co-host were talking about pizza. Now, I'm aware that on this program, we have rarely stuck to the script. That said, we're only an hour long, and you kind of, you know what you're going to get. And we'll throw the facts in.
We weave in and out.
Yeah. Here's the first fact. Dylan sides with Sammy Guevara. Here's the second fact. John Hastings is the new booker for AEW. Death Triangle was my idea.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll do it, but I think a lot of hearing what ails AEW will be if they actually put some oomph behind ROH and just basically make ROH like. It's funny because they could just totally steal what Ring of Honor already had. They debuted the All Atlantic belt. Once again, we're kind of complaining about something that like it is great, and we are being nitpicky because it's like if it was a bit more organized to be dope. Anyway, I just don't understand the All Atlantic title and like the TNT and TBS title. I love that idea of having it like with a network and then like. And then
well, it's also
just
such
a better,
super...
more creative way to do the TV title, and then in a way where it's like, oh, for sure, if TNT has like some weird like show or award show, they'll bring out the TNT champion or the TBS champion and Jade Cargill's. For sure, it'll be the TBS champion because like, no, who gives a shit about fucking Wardlow when you could put Jade Cargill out there? But
I do.
Wardlow hasn't even won off.
First of all, Wardlow is an excellent public speaker, and he looks great. He looks great in evening wear. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You'd be lucky to have him at your award ceremony. Dylan, take that back.
It's just funny living in Greektown in Toronto, and Wardlow's supposed to be this monster, and it's like, that looks like a Skip the Dishes driver to me. Like, that is how people look.
Yeah, but here's the difference, though.
That
is the
is
people
a postman.
The people that look like Wardlow in your neighborhood are also hard smoking and have just said something so wild that even Tony Khan couldn't ignore it. Like, he's just like, here's your mail. Sorry, it's a bit late, but the Filipino down the way is a real cunt. You're just like, I mean, he could have been more subtle than you're like, I'm not gonna be.
Yeah, this neighborhood used to be good. Now there's Armenians.
Oh my God. There's nothing. I will say this about this is a real stereotypical statement about
there
Greek people.
There you go. Let's end on stereotypes, John. John, tell me your most favorite stereotype, which is going to be this next one.
Greek people's hatred of Turkish people is my favorite thing to witness. It's of course, but my favorite thing to witness. Example: I was working at a restaurant that was owned by Greek people, and a guy walked in who my manager said looked Turkish. He was not Turkish. He was from Italy.
They look the same.
Whatever. And he went, "Are you Turkish?" And the guy went, "What?" And he was like, "Get the fuck out, Turkish." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "You can't kick him out because you think he's Turkish." And he's like, "Yeah, I can."
No, you can. Totally can.
Get out. And then I was like, "What are you going to do if he calls the cops?" And he went, "Bro, I'm going to tell him I don't want no gobble gobble turkeys in my fucking restaurant."
But here's the thing, and this is something that it would behoove all of us to when someone
look at the little penguins. Tom's got little penguins behind him.
When you like literally, this is great. I just Googled Turkey in Greece, and I'm expecting an ancient conflict, and literally the hill. Turkey's actions against Greece are a growing threat to NATO. So, like, it's not over, baby. These guys have been warring for fucking hundreds of years. Yeah, so it's like, it's such a bizarre thing, but it's like, sometimes when you're like, oh, why? That's so goofy. Why do you Greeks hate Armenians? Like, they killed my grandparents.
No. I understand. I understand why,
Mhm.
I've just never seen
We're just
the.
so isolated in North America from
This is the thing.
any
It's also
invasions.
like I've never ever seen it, and it's the only one I've ever seen like in real time where it's like you, guy who looks Turkish, get out of my restaurant. I've heard the afterwards. I don't like, I'm a straight white guy. I've heard a lot of I don't like these kinds of peoples around my neighborhood. I've heard it a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Yeah, you record yourself and you play the voice memos
Of
back.
course,
Continue.
I play it for those groups. This is me.
I get exhausted telling all of you guys the same thing. So here we go. Play. Go for it.
Yeah, can you go just tell your friends? I assume you are all friends with people that are not white.
Do you have
Is
like
that
a
how that
group
works?
text? Anyway, go.
Legitimately, by the way, something that someone said to me, it was one of the last days of high school, which was one of them was like, oh, I gotta, it was like say referring to a black student. He's like, I gotta go ask him for, and then he mentioned someone who's in a different grade's phone number. And I was like, why would that person know that person? And then I realized I was like, and then he was like, you know why? And I was like, because they're both black. Then asked them for the phone number, and there was a fist fight. Yeah, it was real good. Not because of that; it was just happened in the cafeteria between that guy and another person. That guy was a bit of a dick. Let's end this now, Dylan. Did you have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that AEW is great, but I think that if the NWA had more money, that'd be better for everybody because then you'd get an appropriate sized roster that they know how to use.
I agree. I think that it would be better if. I'm very interested to see what AEW does with Ring of Honor. I predict it will be nothing.
Yeah,
Like
there'll be
this,
nothing because Tony Khan. This is another thing because I identify with this. Unfortunately, he's a control freak who also doesn't have enough time. So it's like he's not. He doesn't have enough time to run all these wrestling things, but he genuinely doesn't trust anyone else to do it.
all right. Well,
So he
then
needs
don't
to like get.
buy Ring of Honor.
But that's for a streaming service, and it's probably he probably bought it for like it was like a new car or Ring of Honor for him. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a billionaire's son. He could
I
like
know.
get out of wrestling and just still own Ring of Honor.
Here's my question though:
He
is
could
so what's
fold all elite wrestling and just have Ring of Honor as like a vanity project after
but
this.
what is he gonna do when you say streaming service? Is that because they're gonna put it on? I didn't follow this. Are they putting it Ring of Honor on a streaming
Well, why
service?
not?
It's a good point,
It's a
actually.
thing that boosts like you don't have a big enough tape library. You've only been around for 4 years. Now you just bought like the careers of your biggest stars.
Oh, as in if AEW makes its own streaming service, they could
Or
just
if
use.
they're like, oh hey, we're gonna add AEW content to the TNT streaming service. Okay, sick. Now you have AEW and Ring of Honor. And the other thing about Ring of Honor
Oh,
and
of Honor is it's a
AEW is
shitload of WWE talent too. Like it's literally. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
and also the simple thing that you don't have to comb through old Ring of Honor talent for blackface like you do with WWE. Like that's what happened with Peacock where they put all the WWE content and then people were like, "What the fuck am I watching with my son?" And then they were like, "We have to hire all these people to basically verify every single piece of programming on this shit." And like, don't get me wrong,
I mean, you say
there's
that
some fucking buckwild shit in the early Ring of Honor, like the N word is used by white guys.
fans or wrestlers.
Wrestlers.
Whoa.
Well, you remember, Ring of Honor started in 2002.
Oh yeah.
Edgy white guys, buddy.
Oh my god. It's oh my god. It was very funny. I was
Edgy
listening
white
to
guys. I don't know who it is. I forget who it is, but like, there's edgy white guys, buddy.
it's Briscoes.
Oh, the Briscoes. That's not edgy. That's just here's what we think, and it's very
Yeah. I really
like,
hope it was.
They don't put any they don't put any like their butt into it and be like, well, can you see what I said? They just say it, and then everyone's upset, and they're like, I don't understand this reaction.
Is anyone else really hoping that it turns out it was Kenny Omega? He just comes out like let's be honest. Like Kenny Omega is from Winnipeg, and I don't want to paint the people
Turns
of
out what?
Manitoba. That Kenny Omega was the one who said the N word on Ring of Honor TV in 2002.
No, he would have just made some weird, like he would have just forced everyone to watch like some tentacle porn.
Oh god, yeah, that's right.
Mr.
They
Anime?
They really dropped. They really never talk about how his whole character was just based off of like being an anime superhero. Here's another thing I was just thinking about in AEW, which they need to take off of YouTube. That weird entrance where the Young Bucks dressed up like Ken and Ryu from Street Fighter, and
Nerds.
yeah, it don't look good. It looks really stupid.
Yeah, of course it does. To you, we're old people who.
I'm a cool, rich alpha.
But like in the land of the blind, we truly are the men with one eye.
Yeah, between the two of us.
But like, do you know what I mean though?
Yeah,
Like,
we're kings.
we're dorks, but we're like, oh god.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a certain shame that comes with being the dorky thing I like was wrestling growing up
Mhm.
that some people just don't have. So it's jarring for old guys like us to like look at that and be like, you should. Why are you doing that?
Yeah,
And
like
then they're
you're
like, because it's part of who I am. And you're like, hide it.
you hide that. You
It's
talk
not.
you
What?
talk about that with your one friend, and when people that you have intimate relationships with you
Yeah.
ask, "What are you doing with Dylan?" You lie. We're watching
Mhm.
porn together.
This is true, and I'll close on this. My wife, to this day, I've never watched professional wrestling in the same room with my wife. I will fucking
Yeah.
fart in front of that woman. I will burp in front of that woman. Last week I forgot I was with her and I did this and I just no Kleenex to snot rocket right out of the car. She said, "What the fuck did you do?" And I said, "No. I just was like caught red-handed." And I was like, "That doesn't happen." And then she was like, "That's disgusting." And I was like, "Yeah, it was freaking gross." Anyway, I do that, but I would never give this woman the ammunition of letting me watch the goddamn Young Bucks.
I got news for you. I'm going to take what Dylan said even further. I've never watched wrestling in the presence of any person I've ever had sexual intercourse with. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. Like,
Yes.
it's not. Hey, you just saw me naked and didn't throw up. Would you still like to throw up? Because you can find out what's inside my body is far worse. What?
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't like. I once watched SummerSlam.
Racist play fighting? Like
Exactly.
What am I?
It's like a soap opera. If everyone was racist and everything
Mhm.
was solved with
No,
violence,
it's good because all the heroes are the whites.
Yeah. Oh no, it's again.
Oh no, don't worry.
no.
He gets helped by some Latin guys sometimes, but they always need his help in the end. It's like a friggin'
Yeah.
it's a
Mhm.
friggin' I'm not racist but role play a lot
Yeah.
of it. And like AEW still is. And that's
Can
supposed to be the
you-
woke
can
one.
you
No,
not-
WWE is actually better than AEW in that way. It's like they position Bobby Lashley as a and then Roman Reigns, a person of color, is their champion. AEW is like, is CM Punk tanning too much? Should we make it
Yeah.
news?
Um.
Our champion's a cowboy, and he's facing an emo guy. They're the strongest, right?
Yeah, exactly. One guy's a thin man in chaps. The other guy has a bunch of tattoos, and he couldn't even land a punch in the UFC. They're so dangerous. Well, why don't you like show Keith Lee? And he's like an incredibly impressive athlete, and every fan loves him. No, he wears a vest with no sleeves. That's ridiculous. Why do you have a hood and no sleeves?
Oh yeah, it is funny that. Well, we'll close on this, but I do think it's funny that it's Hangman Page, the cowboy character, where it's like they just revive some other weird 1900s like this guy. Oh, Hangman Page is facing the typist.
Yeah. And it's the Hangman Page versus coffin manufacturer Bill.
Guy who moves the bowling pins at the alley.
Oh, and let's never forget it's Hangman Adam Page versus Chris, that weird guy who shows up to clean the bar in the daytime.
The guy who mops up blood at crime scenes. Can't use all this blood. Proves
Yeah.
nothing.
And in this corner, it's Dylan's friend who helped record the album We Farted So Badly, who told John once the story of him recovering a human brain from a storm drain. And when he said it was intact, which was lucky, John wanted to crawl inside his own mouth and scream.
Yeah, I have a joke about that guy, but yeah. He was totally fine with working dead body removal for minimum wage. That's a real thing. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day.
I love
or
you.
Morning.
And I just want you to know that Dylan and I are now going to revisit the time we went over to that guy's apartment, and it's going to get nuts. See you next week.
Bye-bye.